This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
The Lives of the Great Artists by Giorgio Vasari. Preface to the Lives. I am aware that it is commonly held as a fact by most writers that sculpture, as well as painting, was naturally discovered originally by the people of Egypt, and also that there are others who attribute to the Chaldeans the first rough carvings of statues and the first reliefs. In like manner, there are those who credit the Greeks with the invention of the brush and of colouring. But it is my opinion that design, which is the creative principle in both arts, came into existence at the time of the origin of all things. When the Most High created the world and adorned the heavens with shining lights, his perfect intellect, passing through the limpid air and alighting on the solid earth, formed man, thus disclosing the first form of sculpture and painting in the charming invention of things. It is indeed true that it is impossible to feel absolutely certain as to what steps men took for the imitation of the beautiful works of nature in these arts before the flood, although it appears most probable that even then they practiced all manner of painting and sculpture. For Bel, son of the proud Nimrod, about 200 years after the flood, had a statue made from which idolatry afterwards arose, and his celebrated daughter-in-law, Semiramis, queen of Babylon, in the building of that city, introduced among the ornaments there coloured representations from life of divers kinds of animals, as well as of herself and of her husband Ninus, with the bronze statues of her father, her mother-in-law, and her great-grandmother, as Diodorus relates. But we will now pass over these matters, which are too vague on account of their antiquity, and we will proceed to deal with clearer questions, namely, the rise of the arts to perfection, their decline, and their restoration, or rather renaissance, and here we stand on much firmer ground. The practice of the arts began late in Rome. If the first figures were, as reported, the image of Ceres made of the money of Spurius Cassius, who was condemned to death without remorse by his own father because he was plotting to make himself king. But although the arts of painting and sculpture continued to flourish until the death of the last of the 12 Caesars, yet they did not maintain that perfection and excellence which had characterized them before, as is seen in the buildings of the time. The arts declined steadily from day to day, until at length, by a gradual process, they entirely lost all perfection of design. The very memory of painting and sculpture would have speedily disappeared had they not been represented by portraits before the eyes of the rising generation, of the distinguished men of another age. The majority of these were destroyed and obliterated by the barbarians, who had nothing human about them but their shape and name. Among others there were the Visigoths, who, having made Alaric their king, invaded Italy and twice sacked Rome without respect for anything. The Vandals, who came from Africa with Genseric their king, did the like. But the most harmful and destructive force which operated against these fine arts was the fervent zeal of the new Christian religion. Not only were the marvellous statues, sculptures, paintings, mosaics, and ornaments of the false pagan gods destroyed and thrown down, but also the memorials and honours of countless excellent persons, to whose distinguished merits statues and other memorials had been set up by a most virtuous antiquity. Now, although the Christian religion did not act thus from any hatred for talent, but only because of its contempt for the heathen gods, Yet the utter ruin of these honourable professions, which entirely lost their form, was none the less entirely due to this burning zeal. That nothing might be wanting to the